The West is dying. More and more people remain single, and those who form families have fewer and fewer children. The number of abortions is in the hundreds of thousands a year in many countries. What is the cause? Some will simply say it is the incessant anti-family, anti-children propaganda. They believe that if we get rid of the propaganda or counter it with some pro-family, pro-natalist policies, then we can overcome this difficulty. I think they have too much faith in the power of propaganda, whether left wing or right wing. It seems to me that abortion, divorce, general disinterest in forming families are not real problems in themselves, but merely symptoms, side effects of the real problem. And no propaganda can cause them or remove them. This is a new problem in the history of the world. Never before has humanity needed any incentives to propagate itself. Never before was it overcome by anti-natalist sentiment. From this, it seems clear to me that nature itself, as constituted by our Creator, provides sufficient incentives to form families and have children, and thus it requires no human action, no pro-natal policy. On the contrary, some human action must be interfering with natural incentives and causing the crisis. Our aim must be to identify and remove this interference, and then let nature take its course and fix itself. First, we must ask a silly question. Why do people have children? People of today don't know. That's why they practice contraception and abortion, to avoid them. But I suspect if you asked this question to anyone 100 years ago, or 200 years ago, or 500 years ago, they would all give you the same answer. They would first look at you like you're mad, and then tell you they need children to take care of them when they are old. We all, when we grow old, need someone younger to take care of us. We need either our own children or someone else's children. They can take care of us either out of gratitude, obligation, or in exchange for money. But we rely on children. No amount of propaganda can make people forget this. The true cause of anti-natalist sentiment lies in government policy, not in any intellectual endeavor by leftists. The government, the welfare state, by promising to take care of the old and infirm, is destroying the natural incentive to have children, and with that, to form stable marriages. And the propaganda is a side effect. It is merely a justification of the new reality rather than the cause of it. It grows like mold on spoiled fruit. It is relatively easy to convince people of an absurdity about something of which they have no experience. You can convince people that there are strange and mythical animals in faraway countries, or at least you could before the age of television, where we can see what's going on in Australia, for example. It is much more difficult to persuade people to believe nonsense about things of which they have first-hand experience. In times before governments funded the pensions of the elderly, you could not convince people that it's a good idea to not have children, because their daily experience would verify it. They would see that the old people who have no children have to rely on charity of strangers. Only those who are well off can afford not to have children and instead hire help. Children are an investment which has been rendered largely obsolete by the government taking a portion of your paycheck and promising that in exchange it is going to pay you when you are old. It will not let you die. Thus, the government left you all the burdens of having children and rendered the payoff doubtful and unnecessary. It is doubtful because the children, knowing that you are already taken care of, are less likely to help you. And also, they can say, well, the government is taking money from my paycheck to pay for your retirement pension, so why should I need to help you more directly? It's an absurd system because it decreases, or at least disincentivizes, population growth, and yet it is reliant on it. It is a pyramid scheme. It uses the money of those who currently work to pay those who have retired. It does not remove the reliance on having children. It merely obscures it. And when people, seduced by its promises, stop having enough children, the system is going to be defended by promotion of mass migration. Migrants are supposed to replace native workers and thus save the collapsing society. Liberal governments have no ability to compel foreigners to work. It's not surprising. They can hardly compel their native populations. How can they force aggressive young men from the Middle East or Africa to do anything? So the system's next defense is euthanasia. If there are not enough people to support the elderly, you need to get rid of some of the elderly. Thus, many great evils of our day, abortion, contraception, divorce, migration, and euthanasia, all stem from the same source, from this seemingly philanthropic act of the government, which usurps nature and usurps the obligations of children, and in this it transforms family from an investment into a burden. It leaves people with the long and difficult task of raising children, whilst it duplicates the benefit, thus allowing charlatans to persuade people to slaughter their own children. To put an end to this, to fix the situation, we only have to overthrow the welfare state. We have to take away from the government this function of taking care of the elderly and the infirm. Children will again become the ordinary means of securing survival in later stages of life, and charity will become the extraordinary means, and all the anti-natalist follies of modern age will wither away without fertile ground in which to spread. Abortion and contraception will become eccentricities of few degenerates instead of mainstream of culture.